Hi, I'm Libby Kavalakis. Welcome back to the Libby Means Business podcast. Today we have a really special guest. We have a very special guest, Juliann Finch Castell. We have been friends for a couple decades now, and she is a digital business transformation consultant working with public and private sector clients to implement ERP and digital healthcare solutions. She holds certifications as both a project management professional as well as a change management professional. We met when we worked together at a Big Four consulting firm, also known as Arthur Andersen, but she has since gone on to work at both as a director at PwC and Booz Allen Hamilton. Juliann has spent the last many years in Canada working with Canada's public and nonprofit sectors as an executive lead for large-scale transformation in the defense and public sector space, most recently home care digital health solutions. I'm excited that you made time for me and Juliann to have this conversation. So let me bring Juliann in and she can help clarify some of her background and just say what a absolutely amazing management consultant she is. Hi, Juliann. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Libby. I'm glad you said we've known each other for decades. Boy, it's so funny. Weird when we're so young.
Isn't it weird how time flies? I mean, I was looking at that when we were talking about doing this podcast. I'm like, well, I'm not going to say exactly how many years, but because we're both young.
10.
Yeah. Why not? We'll make things up as we go, right? But no, seriously, you are truly a management consulting professional with all the top-notch credentials and experience behind it. So why don't you give us really the background of what you do? And I know you've done it at such a high level in both the United States and in Canada. So just give us a snapshot of who's Juliann and why are we talking to you today?
Absolutely. Well, it's great to be here, and I'm glad to be introduced to your audience. So that's great. Yeah, and I love to talk about the field of management consulting because it's changed a lot over the past several years since we started. We started, like you said, with the big consulting firms, and when we started, it was such a great opportunity because we were steeped in all kinds of amazing training, getting up to speed. I personally have a master's degree, but when I started with the firm, they Introduction to Consulting 101, all kinds of training like process improvement, facilitation skills, and org design, and all the good stuff that we're going to be part of our toolkit. So I've been fortunate to have that and lots of training along the way. I think the industry has changed quite a bit. With people becoming more, independent and lean and mean, and the bottom line in the consulting industry. So maybe there's not the onboarding and up to speed as what we experienced, but I like to still, when I work with teams, I like to kind of bring that philosophy of bringing everybody up to speed, making sure that they're on board and they've got the skills that they need to deliver. Like you said, I do a lot of enterprise resource planning or IT systems implementation. So my role has been as an organizational change management expert. I work with executives and large project teams to make sure that whatever the change is, whether it's a new business process, a new solution, IT system, new organization, that change is adopted. So that's everything from making sure that employees understand the change, the need for the change, whether it's a burning platform, because potentially we're, for example, going to be having a new business line. Maybe there's reductions in force that are coming down the pipe. Whatever that change is, employees need to understand what the change is and why the change is necessary. So they need
And
to
that's
see
a big deal. That's
Mhm.
a huge deal because people use the word change management and management consulting. And I know I always made fun of people who said they were consultants because half of them aren't truly consultants. They just have a business card because they did something once. But when you really get into something and you're talking about helping organizations and employees adapt to change or embrace a change that is going on, let's delve a little bit deeper into that because our businesses keep evolving. At what point does it really become change management and not just fixing around the edges?
I think employees, it's key with stakeholders. So whether it's the employees of the organization themselves, and sometimes it's external stakeholders as well. So, for example, I'm working with a client right now where we are implementing an upgrade to a solution. We are also at the same time implementing a portal. So internally, the employees are going to be making changes for how they do work. They're going to be using a new solution, and clients are going to be required to utilize this portal. Now, this happens to be a public sector client, so this is in the sphere of research and grants, money that the stakeholders, external stakeholders, are going to be potentially, getting. So they have the burning platform. They need to use this portal. They're going to need to know why, how, and understand it. So they have a desire. The employees are going to have to use it as well, but they've already been doing things their own way. So they're going to have to really understand and how they're going to be trained, the support they're going to get, and how it's going to impact their day-to-day operations or their jobs.
Because really what you did was you changed the whole way they were doing their job and interacting with their constituents, correct?
Absolutely.
Relearning your employment, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes it's relearning or gaining new skills for what you do, but also in this example, it's how you're going to be interacting with clients because potentially clients are also going to be coming to you to ask for information about, potentially they've got a glitch in the portal and they're not going to necessarily be contacting a help center. They might be going right to their technical advisor for that information. So, yeah.
And that's a huge part of any business. And let's go deeper on that a bit because we don't have a business unless we have clients, right? Unless generating revenue, you've got a hobby. Um, so talk about some of the things that you emphasize on the communication and bringing the customers or the clients on board with the new processes or the new environment that they have to work in.
Absolutely. Even internally, there are, because we're human beings, we all learn differently and we all have different communication styles. So I work with clients that have managers that they like nothing better to be able to be given a script or an email that's been packaged and they want to send that out to their teams and their job is done. It doesn't always work that way. People don't read emails now. We get tons and tons of emails. So sometimes it just doesn't hit home. They need to have that face-to-face interaction. And sometimes clients and their managers don't have those skills in order to have those face-to-face interactions. We know that listening is really important. Communicating is really important. Body language is really important. And that's where sometimes consultants like yourself and myself can help those managers to make sure that that communication lands and that also that they have a good understanding of how they can engage employees and teams other than just emails, sometimes face to face. Or are there other mechanisms that we can do to engage employees so that they feel part of the process and part of the change?
Okay, where have you found that it breaks down? When it doesn't go right, it really doesn't go right.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I always tell my clients, when we're thinking about change, we've seen examples where there's top-down change, where leader just says, you need to change. This is what we're doing. Thou won't do it. That flies in an organization sometimes like the military, where you have a lot of command and control, and basically you're going to do as you're told, especially amongst the ranks. It does not always fly in other organizations, and especially now when it costs a lot of money to onboard and staff up an organization, when you're trying to make sure that you're retaining your employees. You want to make sure that you have leaders that buy into whatever the change is so that they understand and they're communicating effectively. But you also want to understand, also want to make sure that you build in engagement so that the folks in the field understand and they feel like they're part of the change. Now, being part of the change can be, having workshops or working groups or small team meetings where they discuss, how is this change going to impact me? What can we do to make sure that we feel supported as part of this change? It can include things like super user communities, champions for the change across the organization. So colleagues to colleagues, or like managers communicating with employees versus directors. So you want to try to embed communications and engagement at all levels of the organization to make sure that it sticks. And that's really been a proven recipe for adoption of change.
That's fantastic. And you know what, something you said for our loyal listeners out there, go back and listen to some of our other guests previous to this. Gordon Sumner spoke about leadership, and he repeated, or he echoed exactly what you just said. And these are two top-notch professionals who are telling you exactly what it takes to be a great leader and what it takes to implement change. Juliann, if people want to get a hold of you, we had to come to your LinkedIn profile, Juliann Finch Castell. Also, it's Juliann at jfcconsulting.ca because it's Canadian. Are those the correct URLs?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd love to engage with your audience. And if people have questions that they'd like to ask, I'd be happy to answer them. So again, kind of my sphere is around change management, organizational change management, and strategic service design. So helping organizations think through how they're going to bring to market new opportunities, new business lines, or what the impact on their organization is going to be.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Reach out to Juliann via her email address or LinkedIn. And I want to thank you very much for coming today. And I look forward to speaking with you and doing a second episode.
Absolutely. Thanks, Libby.
You bet.